Okay, take two. Here we go. Yay. I'm gonna get a couple things set up, and then in about a half hour or so, I'm gonna go fix my laundry. Yeah. So today, well, this evening, spent a couple hours talking about sound design, some techniques, layering, all that good stuff, as well as creating samples for one-shots for the drum rack, things like that. That way we can eventually come up with a rhythm that's pretty much controlled by the drum rack, whereas it has most of the elements of the song, kind of like a tech house beat. And then we can use also some examples of tech house to help us create those rhythms that we want. So let us begin. There will be a couple interruptions because, again, like I said, I was doing my laundry. I have to shut off my water fountain for my lawn, but so I apologize in advance for the momentary silences. But I will be streaming for a couple hours at least, hopefully for a few, and also get my that's off. The camera settings going. There we go. You can see what I'm doing, at least for the push. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to readjust my template here, because I'm not going to use these for today. I don't know. I'm not going to use Reason. Solely Ableton. All Ableton. And we're probably going to be working in the arrangement mode for the most part. Just building samples. Probably going to need like 2 or 3. Layer 2. Layer 3, and then I'll need an layer 1. The top one will be my resample. What we'll do is we'll put everything at 0. Take off my phantom headroom on my master. I'm not going to use returns too much today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these layers together. And I'm going to layer group just to be. I'm going to take this if I can. No. Yes. Oh, yeah, no. Take a new one. It was warm anyway. So. Yes, I do, actually. Here. I think I haven't practiced something. Okay, so I've got my layer group, I've got my 3 layers. This is what I'm going to use to make a bulk of my sampling and resampling, and then what I'm going to do is route the input of resampling from the layer group and put this on in, and then when I record it later on, as I build my layer, my sample layers, my one shots, then it'll resample up here, and then I can crop them and process them and save them and all that good stuff. So let's dig in here. I guess what I could do is start with kind of percussive elements, because a lot of the one shots I'm going to have are very percussive. Tech house is a very percussive-y genre of music. Oh, you know what? Before I even do anything, I put my headphones on so that you don't get feedback in sound. So that suck. So what I'll do is take I don't want bass loops. I want drum loops. So I'm just going to go in. Before I continue. There's my little key thing. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Ill prepared for my streams. I'm getting better. I figured that my mic placement was also terrible from my last stream, so I had to fix that. Where is this program? I'm looking for it. I don't think it's on here anymore. Okay. Well, I'm just going to tell you what key I'm pressing. Control E. I have a shortcut on my little chaos pan. Delete. So I'm just taking chops, samples here, things that I want, and digging in really close. Kind of sculpting out what I want here. Alright. When you build samples, sometimes it's nice to kind of add the same layer, the same sample on top of each other, but pitch one sample up an octave. Oh, and to save yourself space, cropping clips just makes things easier. Oh, here's that fly again. So I'll pitch this up plus 12. We'll loop just this beat. And the one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to EQ the second one. And I'm probably going to shorten this. So in Beats mode for rhythmic audio, you can preserve the transient, and there's 3 types of loop modes here. There's a one shot, which it just plays and then stops. If you hold you play it as like a sample. There's loop forward.
Hey. There's a little bit of line to it.
Yeah.
So good.
Do you mind getting the sprinklers? And yes, this is really good. So you have off or one shot mode where it plays just through to the end when it's trying to preserve the transient. There's loop forward, which it just plays and then loops over and over and over again. And then and this is when you're warping it. So like if you have it stretched out too long, it'll loop forward, and then you have loop back and forth, which is the third option. What I like to do is I like to do the just the one shot, and then this number here actually is like a envelope almost, and shortens the sample. So as you play it, you know, the full sample, and you bring it down. Oh, this is not a good example because I have everything on the high end here. So it's getting shorter. The low end, you don't hear the low end as much. You can't hear anything right now because I rerouted it improperly. Holy crap. Like I said, ill prepared. Okay, now you can hear what's going on. So here's an example, like if I preserve the 30-second and I hit the loop forward, this is it looping forward in 30-second increments, 1 30-second increments. This is looping backwards. It gives it kind of a flam effect, but you have this envelope here you can kind of use to give it some decay. But I like using the one shot because then you get kind of like an envelope where you can make it really quick, really tight, if you want to. I kind of like that flamming effect. Oh, it's loud. Sorry. Maybe we should let's do this. Let's drop this down. Actually, no, that's not gonna do what I want to do. Just make everything -5. Actually, -6. No. Still? Okay then. And then I might actually just nudge this so it's not phasing that. There we go. You get the bulk of this. So here's our original sample. It's more of a punchier, flammier tom. And if you hit, what is it? What's the show fades? I forget. The oh, there it is. Control Alt F or Command Alt F, Command Option F for Mac. Sorry, Mac users. Fades, and you can actually use the little curve, fade curve here to draw out your fade in and fade out. So I want to get rid of that transient. I know where there's a bit of popping going on. It's bugging me. So that's one technique. I'm not going to save that. I just wanted to mess around with that. Ooh. And that's kind of also you going through and picking out your loops and kind of, the loop is great, but it's also kind of nice to be able to take elements of a loop, throw them into a different drum pattern rather than the loop that it came with. So basically just cutting up your samples, and I'll tend to get just a whole beat. And the other thing you can do here is if they're warped properly, you can import them let's say slice a new MIDI track, right? So we can select create one slice per whatever, warp marker or transient. And the transient, of course, so you have your warp marker, which is your established marker, and then these fake warp markers are pretty much your transients in a sense. It may recognize some of the smaller transients as well. Looks like it'll come with 25, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it says current clip region is 8 beats long, and this will result in 25 slices. You can choose a preset. Built-in is generally a drum rack with some options to choose from as far as attack, decay, sustain, release. It's got some controls you can mess around with. Macros you can mess around with, and then it just puts everything in each slice into a sampler, or simpler I should say, and all of the ADSRs are routed, which is kind of nice. Yeah, see, some of these it's double sliced. So as you can see. And the nice thing is, so I've taken a loop, I've sliced everything, and now if I want, I can, chop it up differently. Not have to go with the static, the loop itself, but can mess around with it, chop it up a little bit differently. And then if I want, I can take the MIDI track that I've got here, play out some MIDI. I can even do some of this stuff randomly, take some of these slices. If you play it out, it plays it in order. Oh, I like that last one. Alright. And then I can go in, change up some slices. Couple reverse ones. Let's throw this slice in here. Alright. Shift that up. Now once you get to a point where it doesn't have any slices, then it'll give you note values. You don't want those. Not with this anyway. And then we'll put this over here. Sometimes it doesn't come out the way you want to. This definitely needs a compressor. So drag that in. And again, this is more like, you know, if you don't feel too, I guess, creative, well, this has some creativity in it, and alright, but this is a lot of like tedious, you know, library building, but in the end, you know, you save these once and you have them forever, so why not? So I don't really want that, I just want that. I actually want to duplicate that. It should be velocity sensitive, so I'll bring this one. And then this will be my loop. In theory, if I change this length to 1 bar, right, and then I stretch this out, it'll loop itself over. Find myself a kick loop. Or just play a kick over and over and over again. Yeah, that's a good one. Insert audio track. And then this my kick. So I'll just have this playing over and over and over again. Nope. I want this to be looped over and over and over and over again. I want it to loop for a beat. So there's that. You can basically readjust a loop, audio loop, into MIDI slices and then redo the loop however you want to. You can also just resample each loop. So like if I hit record here, I want to silence this. Silence? Alright, so now I have audio of that. Or what I can do is hit 0 to deactivate it, and then I'm not going to have this looping, but I can hit a slice. Try to anyway. And now I have each individual one compressed, done, whatever. Take recording off. Actually, I'm gonna need like another track to cut everything. There are so many tracks just to make samples. Now if I go in, could have sworn there was a way you can cut at transients. Well, I think where I was going with that is going to work now that I'm giving it more thought, which is disappointing. To say the least. Oh, yes, okay. You have to crop each sample individually. That's right. Which is time consuming. Again. But what you can do is save the preset for each device if you so desire. And then just save as samplers. Or samplers. Whatever you want. If you show in browser, you'll see all the slices here, and then you can rename them individually. And this is, so these are all your slices in your current project. And then you can take these each and throw them into like a sample pack. That's right. That's where I was going. So as long as you go through your slices, you just crop them. It sucks because you can't do multi-selections in this. So you do have to go through and crop every single one. It's very time consuming. You can also go through and normalize volumes. So this helps you, and then crop it once you're done with it. That way it saves the different volumes individually. If you so desire. Obviously some of these are the exact same sample, so you can kind of go through and dictate which ones you want to keep based on what you have. For now I'm just going through the tedious process of showing you, and then that's enough. So take all the ones that I want. So 1, 2, and 3 are the exact same. And then I can move them out of my current project and move them into another folder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find drums and make a new folder. And I'll just say samples to organize, because I'll organize them. I'll take the time to organize them later. Wow, can I not spell organize? Oh. Wow, I'll just say org. Brain is not working right now. Okay, current project, take slice 1, 2, and 3. Actually, where's that? And you can rename them. 16th perk. Like I said, this is not working for me. Why did I rename? There we go. I gotta give this a name other than hat, because I have so many hats. It's not a... TL6 hat. There we go. Really? There we go. The one I did like though was that one. So I'll normalize it, I'll crop it, and then I have that crop sample. Trip 16 perk. Oh, that's meh. Okay. So now I got what I want. And I'll move them to my samples and samples organize, and there we go. Now they're saved. It will move them out of your current project, but now they're in my sample library, so it's perfect. And then I can move on. Don't need that anymore. Let's find another loop. And this is a good opportunity to take like really dry samples, like a wood block, like this. Take that, take a reverb or even EQ, really. EQ out your low end. Throw on any kind of effects that you want to throw on, like a reverb or delay or something. Try filter delay. Sure, why not? Alright, throw on some effects. Loop that. Probably going to want to bring the volume down on that, because that's painful. And then just resample it. Alright. Better yet, you can, for something like this, you can freeze and flatten. And then it just gives you a combination of the original sample and the tail. And you can go crazy with this. It's like, oh, I forgot all my space. I don't know what happened to this. It's terrible. So I'll give it a small room. And heck, we can even give it some more delay. Why not? A little more ping pong delay with minimal feedback. Minimal. And all I'll actually do is give it some automation. The dry wet, some automation. There we go. Yeah, I can give it a little more feedback. want it to tail off though. If you're gonna make something like this with a lot of delay, and you want to keep it as tight as possible in the sense that you're gonna have it loop over time. Depending on how long you want your loop, make sure it tails off and tapers and completely goes away before the end of that. I want to have a 2-bar loop, so I'm going to make sure it tails off at the end of the 2 bars. If you want it longer, you're more welcome to make it. You can do whatever the hell you want, but it's best to keep everything as tight as possible, in the sense that I want to limit myself to exactly 2 bars. I want to limit myself to exactly 4 bars, or because if you get these weird kind of 2 bars plus a beat kind of thing, it tails into the next kind of section of the song, or it gives this bleeding effect that may or may not be wanted. But you can do whatever you want, because that's the great thing about music production and creativity is whatever. There's no rules. So, but it's just suggestions, helpful suggestions. Pardon me as I sip my amazing drink. So now we can even freeze and flatten this. Sure, why not? This works. Now I have my really awesome sample here, and I'm going to Control J to consolidate the thing, and it says freeze, which is fine. Go into my samples and go into my drums, find my samples to organize, which I can't spell organize apparently. This saves it as a clip, so what I just did is I took the WAV file, the consolidated WAV file, and took everything and saved it as a clip instead of just a WAV file. You can tell by there's the .wav, wave, whatever you want to call it, and then there's a .alc, which is an Ableton Live clip. The nice thing about clips is, so say I have, I've got my sample, which you can preview it, right? It sounds exactly the same. But if I add any kind of effects, lingering effects, like, sure, I'll add a phaser. It's not going to sound great. Well, it's not too bad, actually. Let's parallel process that. Group. We have our wet, and we have our dry. There we go. Paraphase. I'm paraphrasing. And I'll bring the, oops, I want the wet, or the dry. I want more of the effect when I do the actual sample, but I'm keeping the sample, which is a key point in there, right? You have your element untouched, unphased. Rolling with the puns here. And then you get your phase. Make sure when you have a dry wet like this that your wet is 100% wet. I know I've said that before, but I'm going to repeat it because it's a very important thing to note. Before I continue, I feel as not enough people are getting in on this. I need the social media again. I also need to go get my laundry. Pretty sure that's done. So I'll be back here in a minute. Oh, you know what? Let me finish my thought here. Yeah, let me finish my thought. So, Ableton Live clips. Alright. So I've got my sample. I've got my layer channel with my, phaser, paraphrasing. So then I'll take this, I'll rename it. Let's do freeze with bass. Okay. So now we got that. And then what I'm going to do is go into my samples and drag this in like that. Save it. Perfect. Now when you listen to it and preview it, it sounds exactly the same. Now what we can do is we can go into like the session view here, the live view, throw in this clip, and it's got the name of the track, the clip itself, and oh look, here's our chain with our effect and everything. So it saves everything the way it's supposed to be saved as. The whole channel in one clip. And you can make all of these, a ton of these yourself. Just take time to go through and make them. But very useful because you can just have, you can have all of your clips saved the way you want them, and then recall them later. When you want to, oh, I remember that phase block sample that I made like 2 years ago. All the settings exactly the way you had them. You don't have to freeze and flatten the effects if you don't want to. You can have all your effects ready to go and bring in the whole channel and add more to it and so on and so forth. So, okay, now that my thought is finished, I'm going to go do a little social mediaing and mediaing. That's even a word. I don't think it is. And get my laundry, and I'll be right back in about 5 minutes. So take 5. Sorry I have to do this midstream. That sounded a little awkward. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could do. I'm just realizing right now. I can play you some music while I'm waiting. Just because it's not silence, you know? Where are my mixes? I hear food coming. Yes. Thank you.
More chips and party.
Hooray. Yes. Yes, you can. My house mix from June. Check it out on SoundCloud. Shameless self-plug. I screwed that up, sorry.
Stop the time.
Okay, I return. I stopped the music. Whoops. Alright. So we talked about, let's see, what are we talking about? Did some layering with samples, kind of recreating a little bit of the sample itself. We can do multi-samples, which is like, say we want like a kick. I wonder if we have like a long kick here. So we can do like, let's save this. Oh, I already did that, so I don't need to save it. So we got our one shot here, and then let's say we want like a crash effect. So we go into like our effects here and get some falls. Ugh. Painfully loud falls. And for this, I'm not making a loop, I'm just making an impact basically. You can actually warp this out a little bit, right? Make a So this would be good for a transitional effect, right? You have an impact kick with a nice, you know, long effect tail that's really loud, so we'll bring it down. Good for a transitional effect. Resample it. So take in. Done. And then we'll go to our audio track, bring it down, crop it out. Current project. Impact kick. Bring it out from our. Oh. Yeah, that'd be helpful. There we go. So we got stuff like that you can do. The other option you could do is like layering kicks themselves or any percussive element, taking multiple. The one thing I like to do, and I'm going to start doing more often, is taking the 808 kick. Alright. Or even a 909. You actually take the so I got a low end of the 909, alright. And then I'll take a kick from my kick samples, that like a high end that I like. I like the high end of that. So I'll take the high end, and what I'm doing here is just yes. I know. I know, it's great.
What's the strongest you do?
I'm fourth on.
What do you use?
Oh. Well.
Really hard in here.
Okay. So you've got your sub long 909 kick, right? And I forgot I have my paraphase on here, so I'm gonna get rid of that. But I am going to put a spectrum analyzer on here because I want to look at what kind of frequencies this kick is. Oh, and I have my resample in here too. So. What am I cutting with? Layer 2? Layer 1? Okay. So this is the sub kick, right? And it looks like after about 39, 38 or so, we're low end rumble that we don't need. So we'll take that out with EQ. And I'll bring this up to like 30, say 38. The other thing here is it's pretty high in the sub range of A. So what am I looking at? A sharp, A, yeah, A. So I'll write the key in for this. I'll do it later. But one thing to note, and spectrum's a little bit better to analyze. Obviously, it's goal, you know. The frequencies of whatever, you know, it's got the max line here, so you can see exactly where all of your peaks are, which is really nice. And as we can see here, the peak of the sub of this kick is G sharp. So in order to keep this in tune, transpose it up one semitone, because one semitone above is A, and look at that. Now it's at A. So now that we've key matched our kicks based on frequency, they won't compete musically with each other, which in turn really means that they won't compete with each other phase-wise. So then we can confidently mess around with this sample and build our sample, our layer sample. And I'm just kind of getting a little into the attack here. And I think in order to preserve some of the sub, I'm really just going to fade this and make it kind of quick transient like. The other thing I can do with the sub is fade that a little bit. I'm actually keep the transient of this one. Yeah, that sounds much better. Keep the transient of the high end and then let the long sub kind of extend out. Right, and if we want to make this longer, we can warp it as well. So that was an example of it looping backwards because it, you know, try to warp that. This This instance we'll use complex because we're stretching a really low sine wave, and it will retain the note better. So when we look at the spectrum of this, right, it's still getting there. This peak right here is a B. Peak right here is now it's stretching into A sharp A. Some of the harmonics. So I might actually just go back, not do that. Get rid of the attack a little bit. That sounds better. And just for kicks, I'll throw in another one. And again, we only want one transient to be that kind of impact for if we're going to lay our kicks. So I'm going to show my fades again, and I'm going to take out the transient of this. This is going to be more of the punch. And again, we want to make sure that we are, in our layering, we want to make sure our frequencies exactly the same. And key, whatever you want to say. So this is at C. So C, B, A sharp A. So we want to drop at 3. Semitones, -3. And now we're in A. Alright. Hit it again just to make sure. Peak is at A. Yeah. Kind of close enough. E is a fifth above A, so that's a good harmonic there. Yeah, that's a good harmonic. And I don't want the punch to be too long because then it will disrupt the sub. So we're really just getting a nice short sample here. And the other way I can do this is dir with the transient preserve. Oh, I lost where I was looking at. Where'd it go? What happened? There it is. Now this is really soft in comparison, so what I'll do here is give it a little compression just to make sure we're golden. Well, the nice thing is you can figure out how just exactly where you want everything to kind of compress by scrolling, taking the beginning of the sample, scroll out, and at the bottom it gives you a little duration. Very bottom, just above my computer icons on my taskbar, it says time selection. So start 1.1.1, end 1.1.1. Length 0.00, but it says duration is 91 milliseconds. That's 1 minute, 0 seconds, and 91 milliseconds. So at the very end, or the very beginning, you have the kick going up, and then it's peaking at, what do we got here? 53 milliseconds, and you also have the milliseconds at the bottom in the time ruler here. Right, so we're at about 53, 50, 50, 61. It's the attack of the actual sound itself. Right, so that's how we can dictate our attack of our compression. Because I really wanted to compress about here. I still want a good kind of punch from the first initial few seconds, even though I'm getting rid of the transient. I still kind of want a little bit of that. But then once we get to the peak sound, that's kind of what I want to boost a little bit. I want to boost the rest of it, but I want to keep that about the same. And the length of that is also 61 milliseconds. So I'm going to 0.61 milliseconds, and the release will be about, I'm okay with 68. That's fine. And now we hear kind of more punchy. Yeah. It's a little better. And I'll bring the ratio up a little bit. Got a little gain reduction, that's fine. I'll bring the knee down. I don't need any kind of knee for this short of a sample. So now we can A/B our layers here. So this is without the punch part of the kick. And it just seems a little off. So what I'm going to do here is I'll drag the tail, subtail out a little bit, and I'm going to drag this out a little bit. There, perfect. So you've got your transient part, which, I mean, I really could actually make this a little bit quicker because I don't, yeah, that's much better. So you have like the first few milliseconds is just this transient of this kick. Then you have the transient going out, and you got the punch kind of coming in of the kick, and then you've got that fading out while the sub kind of takes over, and that's your full kick, right? And then I'll actually EQ each layer. I'm not hearing that because it's too far back. Alright, so now we got our kick. And again, all we gotta do is, since we've got our layer group in, all we gotta do is just hit record, from the beginning. And we have our kick. And what I'll do is I will normalize this if I can. You know, I don't think there's a normalize in here. So instead, I'll bring a new MIDI track. I get a simpler going. Simpler. Take the resample here. Then I'll normalize it. Boom. Crop the sample. Show it in the browser. Rename it. Layer kick 1. And then I'll go into my samples. I'll throw in my kicks. Done. There we have it. Homemade kick. Oh, one thing I forgot to do. Rename that in the key of A. Because we made it in key of A. Perfect. Cool. And I could tediously go and show you and build more and more samples, but that's just several ways you can layer things together when you're making drum sounds or percussive sounds or things like that. I mean, I could spend hours upon hours making sounds. I think I've bored you guys already, so and be even more so. I hope I haven't bored people. I hope I'm not boring. That's okay. I'm making things for myself while I'm doing this, so if only one person is watching, then only one person's watching. That's fine by me. Thank you, one person that's watching. I bet you it's probably just me. I'm watching myself. I bet you I am. Whatever. Anyway. Hold on. Next up is layering instruments. I learned this from a fellow Ableton user. I've been following this guy. His name's Ben. His YouTube channel is on Cloud9. Hopefully you go check him out. He's got a couple of videos that talk about production. One of his techniques is layering instruments using audio effect racks. He calls it the what was it, the synth brio or drum brio, something. He's trying to make a pun with embryos. What he does is he takes just an audio effect rack. It's a good thing I brought in a MIDI channel because I need it now. Oh, I don't want an audio effect. I want an instrument rack. That's right. My bad. So layering instruments. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. I hit the wrong one. So he takes an instrument rack. He's got a couple of chains in here. Alright. 3 chains. Layer 1. Layer 2. Layer 3. Okay. And then you just drop in instruments. So let's take analog and we'll do some settings here. Actually, what I need is some MIDI information. We are going to work in the key of E minor. Perfect. Take this, change my so what you can do is, let's draw out some MIDI information. Go for I don't want to do that. Let's do that. Get some sevenths going in here. Perfect. And I'm just gonna make this a 4-bar loop. 4, done. Get some sub information going here. Chords. And what I'm going to do here is a layered kind of sound. So I've got my, more like a giant super saw essence. I'm going to have my mono shape here. It's going to be more my centered kind of sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in a utility after the synth and drop the width. Okay. Now I'm also going to add a sub oscillator in here. Let's do an operator. And I'm going to take the voices on the okay, that's what I'm given. That works. So that's what it gives me based on the MIDI data that I have, which is fine. That's part of it. It's not something I know that it's being created. That's how it's created. I like that. MIDI effects, because it's a higher pitch and I want it to be a lower pitch, I'm going to bring in a pitch MIDI effect. I'm going to do it right before the operator. And I'm going to drop it 36 semitones or 3 octaves. This will give me kind of a counter sub to the and if I really wanted to, I could create an entire MIDI channel and actually have it follow the sub information that I have. But this is part of layering. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do this. But with FM synthesis though, I can add some so what I'll do here is, let's do -24 and I'll drop everything in the chords. Oh, come on. And then what we can do here with this one is we can give it some unison, maybe a little bit of detuning. We'll want to change the routing of our analog synth. I'll actually make this the wide. This will be the mono. It's already kind of in mono, but just to be on the safe side. And then, just for the heck of it, we'll bring in a serum. And it's loading. Here we go. This will just be more the bass, like the fundamental sound here. Now this is a little too much, so it's really kind of just meant to sit in the background. This part isn't really the predominant one. It just gives it a change in harmonics. that's the thing with layering too, is you have that ability to kind of choose and dictate what stands out, what sits in the back. But they all have a key role. I mean, if you take that element out for any reason, I kind of like it on just on the last one. So what I'll do is modulate it. Okay. So I just want the chain volume here, and I don't want it for these. So now you have your instrument. Now you have your instrument, right? It's best in a scenario where you modulate things to just keep the clip. Sorry, I'm trying my best not to chew in your ear. It's probably annoying. Yeah, it's gotta eat. Alright. So in this particular instrument, I've got my 3 layers, I've got my MIDI data, and again, I can make an Ableton Live clip if I wanted to, by simply dragging this out. I can go to my user library, get my chords, right? Just rename this really quick. E minor. Layer chord. And then drag and drop. Boom. This is from a previous good stuff. Anyway. So you can layer instruments that way, and of course you can also process them each individually. So if I wanted to kind of add some filter, a little auto filter. A nice thing about auto filter with some of your analog instruments is you can give it some envelope. I mean, with Serum, you know, it's got its own filter modulation and all that good stuff, so. Perfect. So just food for thought. Layering can give you the ability to use the same MIDI data to create and control multiple instruments at the same time. It's a lot better than having, each MIDI track having one instrument on it and then copying and pasting the same MIDI data all through each channel. Let's say you want to change the MIDI for whatever reason. Instead of having to do it each and every single time through multiple MIDI channels, you can, as long as they're all going to use the same MIDI data. There is a bit of a slight difference when you're kind of working, like if you're going to layer like a sub bass with a bass instrument. That's a little different because generally with sub basses you're only using one note, whereas this is more of a chord, kind of lead sound, supposed to be anyway. So there's that key difference there. But if every element is going to use similar MIDI data, or the exact same MIDI data, it's better to just layer your sounds together, like in this fashion. Plus, you can get richer, fuller sounds when you have multiple instruments playing the same notes at the same time. So just using one and trying to fill it out with effects and things like that. You can just layer 2 or 3 synths together and have a much richer complexity to your sound. Okay. I think I've done enough tutorial-esque things. I'm going to work on a project. The one I was working on yesterday. I don't need to save any of this. I don't need to save any of that either. So I'm gonna try and I'm actually gonna mute my mic for the next half hour or so I can work and eat and not chew in your ear. But you're more than welcome to just watch along, see what I'm doing. I'll try to explain random things if I feel it necessary, but yeah, enjoy watching me work. Sorry, I just have to touch on one thing. So this is what I meant by sampling. So you've got your, for me this is all of serum, and then I've got all three of these layers, right? So when I play this, I can hear all three layers. The other thing too here is if I say I want an element that that's a part of one synth but is not necessarily, there's one part I don't want, I can simply just automate out what I don't want. So I can go in here and I can just say I don't want the low end or the mid for that matter. I can go and show automation on here in my 3 chains. Alright. Alright. Where are you? There we go. And then drop this for that part. And then I can automate this and drop that for that part. So then if I want, I can add in some more filter to give that some change, and just my high end. Automate this. say throughout most of it, considering it's just a high end, and I've got everything cut below 1K. I don't want to go below 1K. I still want to get some of the sound. And to me it tapers off just a little too quick, so I'll curve that up a little bit so I still get a little bit more, and then it drops down. Okay. Just wanted to cover that. Now I'm going to go eat and work at the same time. So I'll chew in your face. Yeah. Every time I do something, I feel like I have to explain something. filter delay does not have a dry wet knob. It does. You can dictate the volume of each one and the dry of each one. No. Group the delay, and you have what we've been doing is dry, have like a parallel, right? And you have a dry signal. But what we're going to do is we're going to open up this chain here, and you have this little selector. You can go from 0 to 127, which is a general dry wet knob, for the most part. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll stretch this out. We'll stretch both of these chains out at the same time. Save ourselves some time. We want to see the little outside bracket. There we go. Perfect. As you can see, there's a lighter line and then there's a darker line. The darker line dictates the zone. It defines, it's the little info boxes. It defines the range of values in which are able to pass through. So when the selector is on the value, the sound goes through, and you can dictate with multiple chains based on this little selector which chain is playing. So this is another thing about layering instruments too, is you can use this chain selector to say, well, I want these two instruments playing in this certain zone, and I want two instruments playing in this zone, and you can have a macro essentially mapped to this chain selector, and you can choose and dictate. But as you might be able to see where this is going, what we're going to do is we're going to actually dictate and use this chain selector to switch between the dry and the wet and anywhere in between. We're going to do that by using this fade. This little lighter bar is the fade option. So what we can do is we can just take this and stretch them to either side. That way, when the chain selector is at 0, it's fully dry. When the chain selector is at 127, it's fully wet. So we're just getting the wet signal. And when it's smack dab in the middle at 64, it's 50-50, and you get both the dry and the wet. Perfect. And then you can adjust the taste. In this instance, I want to automate this because I don't necessarily want the effect to happen right away. So I want like the first half bar to be completely dry. I meant half bar, not half beat. Whoa. Okay, now I'm muting the mic. Oh, I've hit the 2-hour mark in my stream. Was messing around a little bit with the project from yesterday, and I think I'm going to stop streaming that project. I'm going to finish it on my own time, because now it's to that point where it's just a loop over and over and over again, and I don't want to listen to the same thing over and over again right now anyway. So I'm going to start a new project, because I'm a fan of starting new projects and not finishing them. I don't know why. I finished a few, but more often than not I have a lot of projects unfinished. You know what? Let's tap into some old projects. Maybe I can get some I don't know. Actually, really don't have a lot of mine are from Reason. Yeah, I'm gonna start a new one. We're not going crazy. First thing I'm gonna do is determine my key. I'm really liking the idea of playing an E. Do I want a progressive? Yeah, let's fiddle around with that. I built a template and now I'm going to tear it apart and redo it. Yes, Rebecca, I have redone my template twice now. So that question you asked me before about if you ever fiddle with your templates, I've started doing it again. It's terrible, because I keep forgetting I have a push to incorporate when I do everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forget I have this awesome tool at my disposal in front of me, and there are other ways to do things with the push that I used to do that I don't. Used to do certain techniques without the push, and I keep forgetting to incorporate the push. I bought the damn thing and don't use it as much as I should, because I keep forgetting about it, even though it's right in my face. So I have to redo my template again. Because I'm like, oh, I like to do drums in audio. That's what I used to do. Now I have this awesome tool where I can, you know, play out my drums right in front of me with a full sequencer. Why not? Anyway. Enough ranting. Oh. So, that being said, let's use the push. Oops. I got my drum rack. And I need a drum. Let's go browse, drum hits, kick. My loads of kicks. Oh, you know what? Now I can't hear anything. This is another thing I need to change on my template, is to change the outputs so that y'all can hear everything. C1, browse, kick. I already know what kick I'm going to use. It's my go-to. Problem is it's so far away. It's in the G's. And I have so many kick drums. I can do it. I can get there. There we go. Where are you? There you are. Load. Oh, I love this kick. Okay, production tip. So I have this utility that's on my master chain. I call it Phantom Headroom. And essentially what this does is I throw a gain on my master chain to 7 dB, right? And then when I'm done mixing, or done adding all of my elements, and I want to begin mixing my track, I take this Phantom Headroom off, and it gives me 7 dB of headroom. So the goal is to not clip the master channel. I can get as close to clipping the master channel as I want, but the goal is to not clip the master channel. And I can mix a little bit to kind of get all, you know, everything kind of gaining the way I want to gain throughout the project. And then I'll take the Phantom Headroom off, make a few mixing tweaks, and then master it. To put this in perspective, I haven't mastered a track using this technique yet, and I've been using it for 3 months. My goal is to use this technique sometime this summer. It's a mountain of a task for me and my project OCD, but I'm gonna do it. I swear it. By the old gods and the new. Game of Thrones meme. Anyway. I know this kick is in G. I don't want it to be in G. Although I'm going to check myself before I wreck myself because I'm pretty sure it's in G, but I don't know that 100%. So, Spectrum. Always check your frequencies. Oh, I'm right. Yes. Okay, so I'm playing the key of E, right? So we're talking C, G, F sharp, that's 1, F, that's 2, E, that's 3. So we want to transpose this 3 semitones down. And we get this. Oh, it's even better. Oops. Drum rack tip. So you've got your pads, right? You can have up to 128 different samples or instruments. Yes, instruments too. Well, maybe we'll touch that here in a minute. But there's a neat little feature in drum rack where you can have ins and outs. And sends and returns. Alright. Typically, which I need to change to my default drum rack to add some returns. Lots of things I need to do. Terrible. So you know what? No, I'll do it in a minute. Audio effects. Actually, no, I want max for live. Audio effects, convolution, reverb. I'll make this the drum room. Alright. And made for drums and drum room. Alright. Okay. In the in and out section, you can dictate the key that's being struck, and in it there are examples of common sounds used by each key here. So C1, bass drum. Now you can use a layered bass drum and have one or two of them playing at the same time. Whatever. So you have bass drum, side stick, which is a little click on a snare. Your actual snare, hand clap, so on and so forth. I try my best to follow suit with this. Sometimes it's just like I want everything all nice and clean, and I only use like the first 8 pads, but it's kind of a universal MIDI to sound menu here. And it's also helpful to look at, like, oh, this is what this does, or this is a common thing to use for a close hi-hat. And if you get used to this list, you can throw like a MIDI clip of drum information, and as long as everything's the same, then you can make just MIDI clips of drums and drum rhythms, and then apply them to multiple different drum racks of sounds that you can make. So I'm going to start actually making drum racks of sounds that I want all to be together, and then I can just take MIDI information and put them all and universally have the same style stuff. Yeah. Anyway. Little under the hood kind of thing. Some people overlook. So I got C1 bass drum. And if you like, say like, okay, I'm just trying to be as quick as possible for the moment. So I'm like, okay, well, I want a kick and I want a hi-hat. I just throw it on nonchalantly, do my thing, change it up a little bit. Get that spectrum. Where is this one? Okay, so obviously I want to filter out this a little bit, so I'll take the filter and throw it on high. Again, we're in the key of E. So 2.57 to 2.70. So let's go in the middle. Let's do 2.63. Whoa! I forgot it's in kilohertz, so I had to do 2,630. My goal there. Oh, and I just screwed something up. There we go. What's that? I don't know. Anyway. So 630. Bring the res up. And fade this out a little bit. And take the gain down. Give it a little fade in. Just bring the gain down even more. So the tail end might not necessarily be in key. That's kind of to be expected. It's a lot of noise harmonics. So what we can do is we can kind of play out a little bit just to see, transpose it and get a better feel. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a sustained MIDI note in E. I'm going to do it with the sub. and I'm just gonna play around and with the transposition of the drum or the hat itself, and see what fits. It kind of sounds like it's already there, but I'll mess around with it just to make sure. So looking at it, that sounds more along the lines of the note, and it says it's plus 14 semitones. So it says plus 14 semitones, when an octave is 12 semitones, so mathematically the sound should be 2 semitones above. So when I go into the sample, too much for me. Bringing the gain down a little more. Alright, now that we have that, that's perfect, right? So next thing we do is mess with the sub and the bass correlation and do a little bit of sidechain compression, or in my case, it's just a utility volume automation called Volume Shaper. Just a ducker, really. The sub, I generally play out a key, like one long sustained note like I have here, and underneath my time I have it as one voice, so it's mono. Under the pitch envelope I have glide with the ability to change the glide time in milliseconds. I usually leave it pretty low, like 45, 50. I can bump it up to like 64 or 70. But again, you want to make sure that your glide time isn't too long, because then, you know, that's what was that? Oh, it's not in milliseconds, right? one, let's go in here really quick. So one, that's one beat, right? So here's a beat. Here's a half note. The half note is 244 milliseconds. It's not bad. So, as long as we keep it under 244 milliseconds, then our glide won't be too bad. So we can bump it up to like 90. Alright. And each note plays out that glide. So it almost goes from the B, glides up to the C sharp, then glides back up to the E when both notes are released. And we can kick that back. As long as this is not, as long as this is overlapping, then they'll glide with each note change. And then what I'll do is I'll just duplicate this, move it over, and then the last one I'll do some change. The only thing with this is, because we have one long sustained note, it's not going to re-trigger at all. So what we can do is we can re-trigger the E every bar. The reason why I stopped playing that note is I have in my key zone here, it only goes up to A1, so I'm going to stretch this out up a little bit just because I had that just to keep it underneath 100 hertz, and I'm not going to be able to do that with this scenario. Alright, that's what I want. And then I can take this, duplicate that, or I could just shorten the loop if I wanted to, but I'm just going to do that. Okay. And now everything together. It's pretty groovy. I like it. The reason why I glide this up is just so that there's no attack pop. When you have quick attack times on a low end sub bass, it gives these little click artifacts that you don't want. So just gliding the note from one note to another gives it some smoothness, and you can keep the groove without introducing those clicking artifacts that you don't necessarily want, because it's a really not pleasant to the ear. I think at 2.5 hours for the stream, I'm gonna take a break. Always keep your ears fresh by taking breaks. That's a very helpful tip. Listening to this too much can bring on, obviously terrible effects. So I'm gonna take about a half-hour break. It is midnight, so. But I'll be back on again here shortly, maybe like 12:45, 1 a.m. I'm gonna be up till like 4 or 5 in the morning. I know it's gonna happen, even though I have to work tomorrow. But whatever. Oops. Yeah. So I'll be streaming here in a little bit. But thank you for joining me, for those who did join me for the momentary moments that they did, and for watching this after the fact. And hope you guys are actually, let me know if this is something you guys are interested in. Leave some comments. I like talking about music, so leave me some comments and I will respond to them 100%. Yeah? I need to go eat real food because chips and guac is not real food. Peace.